Okay, we're talking about space magic.
I think Timothy Chalamet might be the bad guy. Kirkland brand Voldemort here is obviously a contender for the bad guy, and evil oil baron Dad is obviously a bad guy too. And yes, oil baron Arrakis, Iraq, he literally bathes in a bath of oil. Did you miss that? It's okay. I missed it the first time I read the entire series. Couple of caveats here. First, obviously it's not a one-to-one comparison. Second, obviously there's lots of other themes happening. For instance, what the heck is going on with this like super blue water stuff? And third, I forgot what the third point was, but don't be a dick. I know that everyone is really nice to everyone on the internet, but every now and again, some people on the internet will be like, you didn't understand the metaphor of the film. Like, everybody chill. It's okay. So with some spoilers for Dune ahead, I wanted to just explain some of my favorite things about the movie in no particular order and with no particular agenda. I lied. Here's the order: oil, time, Messiah, and then done. So the spice is required for interstellar travel. The worms make the spice. You cannot get around the universe and project power as an imperial force without it. I know that some people might object to this language, but the American imperialist military industrial complex cannot run without oil. And if you object to that particular sentence, I would urge you to ask this question: which countries are we at war with right now? In Dune, the wars are simple to understand. The Emperor and the covert influence of the Bene Gesserits rules everything, and then there's the Atreides and the Harkonnens and the other great houses. There's only really two kinds of war that can happen. The Emperor can fight one of the great houses, or one of the great houses can fight each other. The Emperor wants to destroy the Atreides, but he doesn't want the other houses to know about it, because if he did, then everyone else would rebel against him and he would lose his power. If America started running out of maple syrup, or people saying sorry, we couldn't just invade Canada, because we would upset the balance of power and other powers in the world would react. The Emperor solves this balance of power problem by installing Duke Leto Atreides as a puppet leader, and then he uses Kirkland, off-brand Kirkland Voldemort, and his oil baron Dad to take over his puppet leader that was set up to fail. If installing puppet leaders to enact regime change sounds familiar, maybe it's because it's America's favorite way to project power throughout the world without upsetting the balance of power. There are decades and even centuries of examples of this throughout our history, but an old one worth noting: this is how we took Hawaii. Part of why you might have difficulty answering the question of who we are at war with is after 9/11, we completely changed the rules, where the Patriot Act gave unprecedented powers to the American government to surveil its own civilians. The authorization to use military force gave unprecedented war powers to the president. The president used to have to ask Congress for permission to go to war, but after 9/11, the AUMF gave the president authority to attack whoever he felt like he needed to. If the Emperor had a Dune version of the AUMF, he could have just done a couple of drone strikes on Arrakis. Part of why the average American has difficulty answering the question of who we are at war with right now is because post 9/11, the AUMF created a new kind of war, an endless kind of war, which is part of why this 60 Words Radiolab episode is one of the most chilling pieces of media that I've ever consumed. So in addition to regime change, the United States claimed a new kind of power: needle precision influence behind closed doors. It is a fact of modern warfare that there is a group of people in each administration that behind closed doors chooses who lives and who dies. This got a lot more serious than I thought I was going to get. Let's get back to the water of life, the time traveling witches, and the Messiah thing, and we'll do it lightning round. The blue water lets you see through time because of space magic.
Okay, we're talking about space magic.
The Lady Jessica is pregnant when she drinks the water of life, so her in utero child becomes telepathic, super smart, and can see the future. Paul's sister is played by Anya Taylor-Joy, who Paul briefly telepathically meets on a beach, and she's like, "I love you." And you're like, what the Freud is going on? And honestly, if you read more of the books, it just gets weirder and weirder. some of the Fremen, Zendaya's people, believe that Paul is the Messiah. They only believe this because the Bene Gesserit told them so. Zendaya, by the way, is totally onto them. Her character, Chani, knows that Paul is just a regular human dude, and he happened to just drink some blue space water and get some magic. She has this amazing scene where she's like, he's not, I mean, he's cute, I've dated him, but like, he's not the Messiah. And if you tell people that they have a Messiah coming, they will wait passively for centuries. I said it was going to be a lightning round, so I won't go into too many details about it. But religious justifications for invasions are an old tactic. We used to call this manifest destiny. You probably already know this, but in case you don't, manifest destiny refers to the belief that white people were using to justify their genocide against the indigenous people of America. God was calling us, we thought, to take over the country from coast to coast because we needed a justification. Using St. Louis as a base of operations, we expanded westward with religious justification. But we didn't stop there. We kept going. Remember how we just took Hawaii with regime change? Manifest destiny as a spirit didn't stop because history isn't over. Colonialism is still happening with regime change and with drone strikes and with economic tools. Puerto Rico and Guam and Hawaii and the U.S. Virgin Islands and American Samoa, we are still the Harkonnens. This is us right now. In my very limited experience as a creator on this app, when creators talk about Gaza, the algorithmic Bene Gesserit will tank the engagement and not show it to people. But you can't talk about American colonialism without talking about the fact that American money is being used to fund the destruction of civilian populations in Palestine. It is much easier to identify with the attractive protagonist who we perceive to be the good guy, but it is also true that part of the American legacy is the ugliness and the brutality of the Harkonnens. We no longer use the term manifest destiny. Now we call it American exceptionalism, the belief that we are morally allowed, nay required, to express our power throughout the world by whatever authorization to use military force or political will we feel necessary because of our superior culture. The risk of tying it all together with a bow, often when we are expressing our American exceptionalism in the name of morally moving the world forward, we're usually just looking for resources. And our generation and the next generation, Gen Z in particular, can see that this is not a sustainable way to move us into the future. And the problem with a Messiah is that a Messiah makes you feel like everything is under control, everything is taken care of, just give me a little bit more power and I will take care of you. And it can feel like that way of thinking is so antiquated so as to be far away from America. That's in the past, but I can assure you it is not. And it's not always easy to know when the Messiah is a bad guy. There's something attractive about being told that you will be taken care of and that you do not need to do anything except give up power. The problem is that a false Messiah, a made-up prophet, will just as easily call you to arms in service of their own goals.